All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome again to this youth webinar. It's the fifth in our series. And today it's really about making connection networking at the 15 World Forestry Congress, which, as we all know, it's really around the corner. So starting in 12, 13 days, depending where you are in the globe. This is Pier Andrea Pirani here. I'll be facilitating the session together with Amos today. I'm part of the WFC Secretariat. And I'm really happy to see so many faces, so many names, people that have joined this previous webinar, and also, I guess, a lot of new people coming in today. Just briefly to remind, especially to keep your microphone muted and to keep your video on if you can, and especially to engage throughout the session. We'll see what we've got in store, and I'm going to hand over to Amos here to run us through the program for the day. Amos.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on wherever you are. Hi, everyone. Amos Amanubo here today with Pierre Andrea co-hosting this session. We have quite a session that's fully packed for you to begin to establish connections and to see how we can move forward to the World Forestry Congress. So this is the fifth webinar in our World Forestry Congress, the World Forestry Congress Youth and Young Professionals webinar series titled Empowering Youth and Young Professionals and Building Capacity in the Lead to the 15th World Forestry Congress. This particular webinar is about a skill that we probably all need in life. It's about networking. And since the World Forestry Congress draws a lot of different stakeholders in the forest sector together, it might be just that opportunity for you to network with people and engage with people, either sharing your views or also, or also just gaining the views from other people, gaining new friends, meeting new people, and so on. So for today's webinar, we are glad to have you here. Through the session, from this brief overview, we are going to have a quick speed dating. We call it speed dating, but it's a quick network in the breakout rooms. Briefly, we will have you there, and then we will have you back in this main room, and we will have a very wonderful presentation from our first guest speaker, Elaine Springate, who is also here with us. And then we will have another breakout room just to engage based on what we keep learning throughout these presentations. And then we will move to the second guest speaker, that's Maria, who is also here with us. And then we will have an outlook of the World Forestry Congress, the Congress program that is already up. And then we will come to a closure of the session for this webinar. Pierre, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. As earlier mentioned, this is just one of the many webinars that we've hosted for youth and young professionals. And the specific objectives of this webinar that we have today is sort of to empower or build those practical skills for networking and navigating a multi-stakeholder event like the World Forestry Congress. This is particularly if you're going to participate in the Congress, or if you are just interested. You never know when and where you might need this skill. And also just to sort of bring ourselves to terms with how to optimally navigate the Congress program website. The program website has a lot of functionalities, including networking and including just what is there for you to learn from, or which events, which sessions, and so on, and what speakers. So through that, we hope through this session, we can also unpack that a little bit. Also then to provide networking opportunities, you can already view from the chat that there is a diversity of people joining from around the world, people of different backgrounds. Some might be very beneficial to your career, some might be very beneficial to your pursuit of knowledge, and so on. So we hope that today, through this webinar, we will also create those networking opportunities. And we hope to, through this webinar, also build on the World Forestry Congress audience. And very lastly, but also importantly, to probe participants, us here in the audience, on what we plan to do at the Congress. It's always very important to go to such a Congress with a plan on what exactly you want to achieve or what you want to do. So that is a brief overview of the objectives. Pierre, did I miss something? No?
No, not that I can think of. I think that was really clear, but please, I would invite participants to ask in the chat if there is anything which it's not clear about the program or something they would like to know more about. And I'll keep muting people in the meantime because I was hearing some background noise. I see that we are still getting new participants joining, so we're about 75 now, which is really, really great.
Yeah, if you have any specific, these are the objectives and the session outline is already read, but if you have any expectations, if you have any other thoughts, please drop them in the chat box and we will address them at the appropriate time. Pierre, can you move on to the next slide?
Yes, let's move on and let's start to network. Let's start to get to know each other a bit more. And so the way it's going to work, we'll just put you quickly into breakout rooms for about 10 minutes and breakout of 3 to 5 people. Maybe you'll meet new friends. Maybe you'll reconnect with people that you already know. We are giving you some suggestions or some ideas of things to talk about. Please keep yourself muted. And, you know, just introduce yourself, what you look forward in the Congress, what makes you feel comfortable in a space, what are maybe your biggest strengths, who would you like to meet here? Just, you know, interact, discuss. And I see that some people are walking somewhere, are walking outside, are joining our meeting from while taking a walk, which is great. But yeah, without any further ado, I'll open the rooms now. Like I said, these are just suggestions. Important is that you meet and mingle. So get in the room, get to know each other, and make new connections. So I'm opening the room. Oh, wait, we got one more participant joining. I would like to assign before we open the room so that they're not stranded in cyberspace. Just give me 1 second, so everybody is going to be assigned.
Maybe just to quickly say that as you move into the breakout rooms, this is just not an exercise that we are assigning to you. It's a real life networking, just as you will encounter it or experience it at the Congress or anywhere else. So yeah, feel free to switch to a real life mode.
Thank you very much, Amos. And so we go in 3, 2, 1. Have fun. Welcome back. I see my screen being populated with all little pictures and videos. It's great. And some smiley faces. Hello, Sambat. I hope you had a good conversation.
Yeah, it was really great meeting new people. I also got another friend from Nepal.
All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody that you didn't know or somebody that you already knew.
Yeah, there were 4 people, others. New connection.
Very good. Very good. What about the others? Anybody else made a new connection? How did you find it? Just any volunteer would like to share briefly? Was it too short, too long? Hopefully it was all right. Hopefully you enjoyed. Lawrence?
I think the 10 minutes is just too short for us to exchange a lot of information, like contact infos and others.
Don't worry, we'll if we're good with time, we'll go back into breakout later on as well. So you'll have other opportunities to connect and have smaller conversations with your colleagues. But for now, please let's everybody mute himself or herself so that we can keep the sound clear, because we need to move on with the rest of the program. And Amos, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do a mentee, right? Aren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So if you can see, everybody can see the screen, the QR code in the screen. So if you scan the QR code, And Amos, do you mind placing the link in the chat as well? The full link. Otherwise, I can also pull it up. So when you go to the mentee, you will see a series of questions. We'll do one by one. So we'll take, and it's going to be different questions. Going to be just to get to know you and us a bit better, especially for our presenters that are coming up later. So, you know, it's always important to know the audience, right? So they can target the delivery of their talk and tune it to what is the audience. So just checking that we got the link in the chat. Otherwise, we'll place it. Or so if you got two options, scan the QR code, or otherwise, if you go to mentee and put the code, you should be able to then vote take the first mentee. And I'm going to change my screen share. So hopefully we can see the live results coming in. And let me go maximize. So
you can use that link up there. If
better.
Put the link in the chat, you can also use it.
Yeah, let me go full screen. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're looking at how confident do you feel about the skills that we are displaying here. So preparing for a global conference, of course, the context is clear. Approaching people, introducing yourself, following up with people you have met, or reading social situations. So let's give ourselves a few more seconds to take this mentee. And again, you can go mentee.com if you're not here yet, and then you see the code at the top of the screen here, which is 34776015. I see results are coming in. We got about half of the participants now that have voted, which is really good. Let's let it run for a few more seconds before we move to the next one. And yeah, so
it looks like it's quite a challenge preparing for a global conference, right?
Yes, and that, and also following up with people you've met. Yeah, I would subscribe to that as well. To be honest, seems that our group here it's more familiar or more confident in introducing him or herself to the others, which is really good. That's also something I struggle with sometimes, to be honest. And so in the meantime, I keep muting folks so that we can improve the quality of the audio. 46 votes on this mentee. Maybe let's see if we got a couple more participants. You can also, if you're not able to access the mentee, you can also write in the chat. We're monitoring that as well. And if you'd like to among these skills that you see, the ones that you feel more confident or less confident with.
Maybe just a reminder that if they put 1, that means very low confidence, and 5 is for high confidence. So you know how to balance between those.
So the slider, you can slide through, and it's really in the middle for the preparing. Approaching people looks very good, as well as following up with people you met and introducing yourselves. This is good. I'm admitting a couple more participants that are joining, so this is great. We're getting, hopefully we'll get more than 80 folks connected. We're already 79. So but let's see. Shall we move to the next one, Amos? What do you think?
Yeah, we should move to the next one and see what.
Let's move to the next one. So let's see what we have here. So I'll now change the slide, and you will see that the mentee page that you've got open will refresh, or it will tell you that the presenter has changed the slide. So you can refresh, or you can click to display the new question that is displayed at the moment. And here we're looking at what do you find most difficult about networking? Following up, keep it simple yet interesting. approaching, and we'll see the different speech bubbles coming in as you contribute to them. Again, if you
language
just have
barrier, first contact, following up. Following up is coming quite late, eh?
Comes back, yeah? Yes. Yeah.
Finding the right people to connect with. How do you know this is the right person you should connect with?
Yeah, language again. Yeah.
Or someone doesn't know how to start networking. I hope that by the end of this session, we'll be good to go with this question, and we'll have a very good answer to this question already.
Fear of not providing value, I see. That's interesting. Keep the conversation. Yeah. Personally, I find it difficult to move to the conversation, right? At a certain point, so how do you, it's good to have a conversation, a bit of, get to know people, but then sometimes, you need to move because you want to talk with somebody else, right? So for me, I would say, how do you, I don't know how to phrase it, but how do you stop a conversation without, how do you move on in a way, in a useful way?
How to be attractive. I guess that has something to do with your pitch as well. How to just give that small talk, and it's very captivating and it's attractive. That's quite interesting there.
And I want to know who said no problem, because then we should have this person also to join our panelist today. That would be good. Yeah. How far is not intrusive? Yes. Entry point, or as I was saying, exit point for me sometimes. Approaching, how to pitch. Deciding between equally beneficial connection and not beneficial connection. That's also interesting. Yes. Language barrier, culture. It's quite a rich...
The person's mood, eh?
Tapestry, eh? Yeah.
Where are
yes.
You? Where are you?
Language. Marajai, hello? Yes? I see your microphone is open. I don't know if you want to comment on what we're seeing. Otherwise, I'm going to mute you.
Someone has no more issues. That's very nice there.
Yeah. I see this coming in, but Amos, perhaps let's move on to the next one, eh?
Yeah.
So let's see what we get next one. So I'll be changing slide, and we'll download all these and we'll review and collect and analyze, of course. But let's move on to the next one. And again, you will see that the page asks you to refresh, tells you that the presenter has moved to a new slide, so you can move to display this new question. And for the people that have just joined us, we're doing this mentee to get to know each other a bit more and where we come from in terms of skills and what we know, what we don't know, what we would like to know more about networking. So you can go to, you see the instruction on the top of the screen, mentee.com, and you use the code 3477-6015 to display, to be able to vote into this mentee.
I've added the link in the chat again, so
yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Amos. So there is also a direct link in the Zoom chat, and it will open the mentee into a new browser tab. This is different, so we're displaying your answers as a word cloud. Let's see how that works. Communication, it's standing out. Of course, the bigger the word, the more common it has been entered, the more times it has been entered. What else do we see, Amos? Communication is getting smaller and others are getting a bit more even, I guess.
First approach, building the relationship, public speaking. The first approach has come quite a number of times, if you see there. How to introduce yourself together with pitching is also coming up. Finding the right person. I think this is a very interesting thing to just, that really stands out from this word cloud. It has come on from the previous slides, we also had it. How do you know this is the right person you should network with? Of course, there has to be the right person. Following up is another. exit strategies. Whoa, that's quite worthwhile noting, how to exit this network. Or I don't know, but that would be good if the person who put that there could just say that out. What about exit strategies and networking, right? Confidence is another. Yeah, we, just to build up your expectations a little bit, we have quite very interesting speakers today who are going to provide us very good tips into how we can approach some of these things.
Yeah, and Amos, perhaps without spoiling their presentation, but maybe I would like to see if Elaine and Maria would like to comment a bit on what they're seeing so far on the mentee. I mean, how does this speak to what you had in mind for in terms of the audience that we're getting? I mean, you were expecting for this session and activity. Yeah, Marajai, I can see you. But let me see if we got Elaine or Maria that would like to comment on what we're seeing here or in the previous mentees before we move on to the last and final one.
Yeah, thanks, Pierre Andrea. I mean, I think in some ways this is somewhat expected. I think communication is rather kind of general and is a key part of how you build a network. And I'll touch a little bit more on, what exactly is networking. I think we've got a lot of preconceived notions about what it is, but I'll dig a little bit deeper into that, and maybe I'll also touch a little bit on, how do you figure out who that right person is, and how you build those relationships. So hopefully I'll address some of these issues that are cropping up.
Yeah, so you see, we've got more coming up. Thanks, Elaine, and thanks also for not spoiling it. Maria, any comment from your side on what we're seeing?
Yeah, I love all of this word map. I think definitely following up is a really big, important part of networking. So I'll be touching up on that a bit more, as well as pitching. So we'll talk about that elevator pitch later on as well. So yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you very much, Maria. And I think that Amos had lost connection. I don't know if he's back, but while we check, let me move on to the last and final one. And let's be a bit more specific. So if we're talking about, you're back. Good. Yes. So do you want to take this one, Amos? This is the last one.
Great. Yeah. So we want to know what your main goal for the Congress is, right? I must be very honest, and I must confess that when I started attending the very first events, that multi-stakeholder events at a much younger age, it was always like going to a Congress. And so what after that Congress? What did I benefit? What did I achieve? What was my goal? So helping to establish your goal right now, I think you can come at the end of the Congress and just look at, have this checkbox. So what did I achieve? Like being accountable for your time spent at the Congress. And we have a number of things that are coming up. This is quite great. Policy advocacy and networking. Someone says networking for postdocs. Networking is coming quite a lot. And this is something that's very interesting. Finding collaborators, building business connections, international collaborations. Someone wants to go to the Congress to learn about the world's forest situations. There is a lot of information about that at the Congress. I'm sure you will have enough when you start to check your books of accounts after the Congress. And I am hopeful that you will be satisfied that you gained a lot of information about the world's forest situation. Learning something new about forestry, it's a lot of knowledge that's coming to the Congress, and you will definitely, I'm sure, learn something new. Connecting with fellow agroforesters. I know a very big agroforester in the room here right now. Let's just keep going forward. Insights on forestry at a global scale, networking, self-growth, more definition for my career path, more. Some of us gained an overview of an insight into what career path we want to take through attending some conferences. Pierre, do you see others there? There is one in French, Pierre. Do you want to take that on?
I don't see the French one. I see the Spanish one, and and yeah, I can also pretend to know French and Spanish, so that's good. I think knowing the new development in managing forest, I would say that what. But please correct me. I see that we've got Pilar and Elaine speak Spanish, so I see her nodding. Build connections. Yes, I saw somebody talking about funding. Yeah, business opportunities. So very, very, very practical in that sense. Interact with like-minded people. I see seeing soul, which of course, you know, yeah, we also need to take advantage of these events, I guess, to explore new places, meet new cultures, right, and understand new culture. I think that's also a great advantage of this gathering, that we get exposed to different environments and different cultures from what we normally live in, and having this exposure and living these cultures and living with people from different places, it's definitely a process that enriches us. And you know, we need a great deal of mutual understanding, I guess, in general, and to know each other a bit better. Yeah, last thing, Damos, and then we'll move on.
Coming up in the bubbles, like a lot of things that actually need the substance of the webinar that we have today. People are talking about finding collaborations, business partners, networking, and the word collaboration and networking has come out very many times.
Yeah. So why don't we move into the content then?
Yes, absolutely.
Shall we? Let me stop sharing here. And now I lost you, Amos.
Yeah, sure. I'm still here. If you can just
thank you. Thank you.
Now we're moving to
thank you.
Thank you, Marjai. Thank you very much. I'll keep muted you. We'll have time for Q&A later. But let's hand over to Elaine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, actually, before I get started, I also wanted to do a mentee. So maybe I'll ask Amos to put up the link while I quickly share my screen, because I'd love to know, before we get started, why do you network? And I've given a few options. You can pick up to 3 actually when you select your options. But yeah, just these are some broad ones. And if your option isn't up there, or if you want to add to it, by all means, add it in the chat as well, because I'd love to know, why do you like to network, or why do you feel the need to network?
Hi everyone, I put the link to the mentee in the group, in the chat box. You can just see it there.
Thanks, Elaine. This is really useful because indeed, I mean, we saw a lot of networking. So, but yeah, networking for what, right?
Networking, exactly. For why do people, I mean, I think for young people, there is even this, and I even do it myself. I think a lot of people assume that young people are networking because they're looking for employment. And we're actually seeing that's not necessarily the case. There are a lot of people looking for collaboration and the exchange and sharing of ideas, and maybe tackling, you know, the global challenges we're facing in the forest sector, coming up with global solutions or local solutions to those global problems. So this is really exciting. But there's still a number of people looking for employment, also mentorship. Not so many people getting the confidence boost from networking, but I'm not sure if I missed any big topics. Probably give it another minute or so. So we'll give 1 minute, and then I'll close it and move on to the actual content. But yeah.
I see that we have Vinamra wrote in the chat, project collaboration. So that was really more specific. I mean, I see you've got collaboration with peers and colleagues, but this is very specific, right? So on projects.
Absolutely. Okay. I think a couple more people are still voting. got about, looks like 2/3 of people have participated. Okay. No, very, very interesting. So thanks for participating in that. And it's interesting to see the spread, and that there are a lot of people looking for real, working with others, sharing ideas. All right, so let's go to the heart of the matter. And I'll share my other screen. Okay. So I've titled this presentation Effective Networking for Young Professionals. Now, I understand not all of us are necessarily young professionals, and this is even useful for those who are maybe more young at heart professionals. And while I do work at FAO, I'm an agroforestry officer based here at headquarters in Rome. I actually I wear another hat as well, and I am the founder and chair of a new global network for young professionals in the forest sector called 4YP, which we will be launching at the World Forestry Congress. So please keep an eye out and join us. But I can ask, what exactly is networking? And I think a lot of people have different definitions. I define it as proactive relationship building. So networking is ultimately you're building relationships for the purposes of connecting with fellow like-minded professionals and to grow one's career. And I think I saw kind of like-minded come up a few times in the previous Mentimeter. And what sets apart networking maybe from some other relationships is that it's really proactive, meaning that you are establishing those relationships before they're actually needed. So just keep that in mind, because I'll bring that up a couple times. And why is networking so important? Well, first and foremost, it contributes to your social well-being. It also can lead to the exchange of ideas. It helps you meet people at different professional levels, and it ultimately boosts your professional confidence. And I'll dig into these a little bit more deeply. So true networking occurs when there's an understanding that everyone in the room has equal value. I actually think I saw in the Mentimeter someone say, I'm worried about what my value is to other people. Don't mind that. Everyone has a certain amount of value. And like any relationship, networking is about people enjoying the company of other people, expressing passions and interests, and connecting with others who share those interests. And effective networking it's a two-way street. So I think many people look at it as a way to ask for what they want from another person, like a job or funding, I think came up, or to help with applications. But networking is so much more than that. It's actually not just about taking. In fact, it should be the opposite. It should be more about giving. So what can you give to someone else? What do you bring to the table? So that means that you have to already have an understanding of what your values are, what your interests are, and also what your boundaries are. So that way you can feel a little less unsure about networking. Because when you feel confident about who you are and what you bring to the table, you'll feel more comfortable, and it's easier to build trust with someone else. So at the end of the day, you do need to take stock of what your strengths are. And this can also include listening and figuring out what others need and connecting them, not to yourself, but to other people that you know. Because that's what networking is, a web. It's not just a one-on-one relationship. It's tapping into the networks that other people have as well as yourself. So at the end of the day, I would say the most successful networkers I know are the ones who build genuine, nurtured relationships where they give more than they receive. And networks can be extensions of your team and colleagues. I mean, whether we're still students in academia and we've got our fellow students, our professors, or we're in the workplace and we've got the teams that we contribute to. Networks expand on that and allows us to tap into skills, knowledge, and expertise that we don't have ourselves. And they can house ideas. Networks house ideas that can keep you growing professionally and allow you to try and get exposure to new things. So hearing what someone else is doing at their company or organization can inspire you to bring new techniques or skills to your jobs. Networks also help us to brainstorm ideas, as I mentioned, to find solutions to challenges that we have, or even validate our approach and provide feedback on your work. I recently led a publication with 40 some experts that launched last year, and I can tell you that, you know, working with those people towards a common vision helped to validate the approach I was giving, and along the way we had to rely on feedback from other people, and this was really useful to make sure that the idea was on the right track. And network helps build our social capital. So I like to think of networking I think we often think of horizontal networking. You know, we're meeting people who are more senior than us, who maybe can give us advice on our career growth, serve as a mentor. But there's also vertical networking. So this is our peers and colleagues, maybe at the same level, who will likely be part of our network throughout our entire careers. It's important to have both of these, because vertical networking can also provide us with a professional support network. You know, people we can commiserate with and also understand how times are changing and can grow with us. And these various connections can lead to new paths, even new job opportunities. Because at the end of the day, I think there's the cliche, it's not what you know, but who you know. And that's why building diverse networks on mutual benefits and values and interests is really important. And then ultimately, network boosts our personal confidence. So forming new relationships is very rewarding, but it also can take time. And it's an exercise in confidence, especially for people who are shy or introverted. Actually, like myself, it's taken me a while to become comfortable with networking, which is why when you network, it's easiest to start with your assets or what you have, you know, your strengths, your beliefs, your values, even your own networks and the people you know. Because discussing shared interests with someone and developing new relationships helps to foster confidence in your capabilities and also in your ability to network in the long run. So some quick do's and don'ts of networking. Value everyone. So it actually helps to see everyone first and foremost as a human. Don't be intimidated by who they are as a professional, their status. At the end of the day, they are a person, and you should be curious about their interests, values, and experiences. Never dismiss anyone as unimportant, because you know it's easy to think that you shouldn't consider them because they're not senior enough, or you know they don't have a title. Because you never know who that person is, what they know, who they're connected with. And ultimately, remember, networking is not about the present, it's about the future. So you don't know when someone may become your peer, your boss one day. So just, you know, be open. And most importantly, networking is about forming strong relationships. So while I say value everyone, it's also equally important to be selective who you build relationships with. So especially something like the World Forestry Congress, you have a lot of people. This is not a card collection game. So instead of meeting as many people as possible, make a goal of having a few deep and engaging conversations with a handful of people that you have shared interests with, that you can find, and you can create that stronger connection with. So in order to do that, you need to know what your value is. As I mentioned, your strengths, your skills, your values, interests, the connections you bring to the table. So take some time beforehand to really map that out, and know what you want to talk about and how you want to share yourself with others. Because I think someone mentioned, you know, what if we don't get along? then maybe you don't have to get along. You can network with someone who does have your shared values and shared experiences. So on that note, I would even say, forget your personal agenda. Don't think about networking beyond just whatever your particular, if it's you're looking for a job, kind of put that to the side and think about networking as much bigger than just yourself. So you don't come across as demanding, but also so you're creating more open relationships. So be open, friendly, and honest, and forge connections with people that you feel you can help and who may be able to help you. And that starts with really listening to people. So in fact, you don't necessarily have to be quick to introduce yourself or say what it is you want. You can take a step back, listen, ask questions, get to better understand what the other person, their interests are, what their needs are, and maybe you'll find that entry point on what you can contribute. Because effective networkers create connections between other people, as I mentioned, and not just themselves. And this comes from a space of generosity, which is an incredibly attractive quality and will make you special and memorable, which is also really important when you're in a big event. So these are my to-dos and don'ts, and I would just like to also highlight that, remember that these connections are, not about today. They may help you in 2, 3, or even 10 years from now. So it's important to find a way to follow up with the people you do have a strong connection with and always remain in touch. And for those who maybe feel uncomfortable with networking, it's important to first and foremost believe in the power of networking. So the true value of networking lies in helping others. Always be yourself, because this is where you're going to find the most comfort, talking about yourself and showing your real passion. There's nothing more energizing than meeting someone who has similar passions and values as yourself. Also, be prepared. Find out who's going to the Congress, figure out which events you want to go to, who's speaking, who might the participants be. You can always utilize social networks and reach out to them even beforehand and say through LinkedIn, are you going to the Congress? I'd love to meet you. Find out a little bit more about their background if it's someone you want to approach, so you can, again, figure out what you can offer and bring to the table. And if you don't have one already through work, create yourself a business card. Like, you can even order them online. Vistaprint is one company. They're not that expensive, but have a calling card or business card that you can give to someone with your contact details, because that's a really great way to remind them of who you are. And always practice. You'd be surprised. Networking exists everywhere. It doesn't have to be a formal big thing. So take advantage. If you're more comfortable, start with your peers or colleagues. Events like this are perfect. And I would like to say, if this is something you have found valuable, let the WFC Secretariat and organizers know, because this can be a fixture at all future congresses moving forward. And in case none of those work, find yourself a wingman. That means have someone who you might feel more comfortable with, that you can, already, you might have similar interests, you want to meet similar people, and then you have someone you feel comfortable talking to. And speaking of wingmen, 4YP is at the World Forestry Congress. Obviously, we actually will have a pre-Congress networking event on Sunday, 1st of May. It's before the welcome cocktail. So if you're going to be at the World Forestry Congress in person, it's the perfect time. Meet some fellow young professionals, grab yourself a wingman or wingwoman, and take them to the welcome cocktail. So that way you have someone to go and meet others with. And then we, of course, have our main event on the Thursday. And I imagine Amos will talk about that a little bit more, but I'm making a plug anyway now. So happy to answer any additional questions you guys may have. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Elaine, for that very wonderful presentation. very many things that I captured in there. Finding out about people is a very important thing way in advance, and we will also capture this shortly. And when we start to present about the Congress program platform, there is also a section there where you can actually go and find about network with the people who will be at the Congress, and you can connect across other platforms for networking. But just in case you have any other question, please drop the questions in the chat box. Now is the time for questions. Elaine, there is one question for you from Amina. Amina says, Elaine is an exceptional mentor, as I have personally learned a lot from her. I was hoping to know from her experience what was striking as the most important thing in creating sustainable networks.
Oh, it's a great question, Amina. Thank you. And yes, it's been great getting to know her the last few months through the Green Mentorship Program. I would say for me, the most important thing, and as someone who has been uncomfortable with networking, I don't like the first approach myself, even to this day, with over 12 years and working in international development in the forest sector, still something I'm not comfortable with. But that said, the thing I find has helped me the most is to really just be myself. And as I said, I know what I'm good at. I know what my interests are, and I have sought out people who are, have the same ways of working as I do, similar values, similar visions, and this has ultimately fostered very strong connections with people, so that even if I don't speak to them for a couple of years, when we do reconnect, it happens on a deeper, more significant level. And when things come up, I will sometimes shoot an email and say, I saw this, it made me think of you, or I think this might be an interesting opportunity for you. Let me know. And you keep connections in those casual ways, but on a more meaningful level. So yeah, I would say this is the most important thing, is find those common values, common interests, and really spend your time nurturing those relationships rather than the superficial. And to be honest, I find that those more meaningful relationships have tended not to happen with people significantly senior than me. They're more on my level, because then there's collaboration on a more real level on a regular basis. So yeah, so that's how I would answer that question.
Thank you very much, Elaine, for responding to the question. Soren, I see your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and put the question across quickly, but for the rest, we can keep putting the questions in the chat box. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't know if I should put it in the chat or not. I was just wondering about you mentioned follow-ups now, and you've sort of gotten into a little bit more detail. So just for my benefit, it's more about just sort of looking and seeing, okay, so this reminds me of them, and then writing them. It's not sort of, there's no, I guess, schedule to it. So there's no, you have to keep connections, but it's sort of like, yeah, you can sort of lay it on the back burner, and then at some point you write them again. Or what would your tip be?
It's a good question. And I think Maria will be putting more emphasis on that in her presentation. So without stealing from her, for me personally, as someone who gets followed up with, and also who obviously has to follow up, I'll kind of give my take on both. So when I follow up with someone, I do try and follow up with them within 1 or 2 days of meeting them, especially for the first time. And I'll say, really nice to meet you. And I'll kind of give them a bit of a reminder of what we spoke about. But again, I follow up with people that I feel I had a strong connection with. I don't follow up with anyone and everyone. So there was that initial connection. There was something about even the conversation that was memorable for me. When someone follows up with me, I actually like something similar. I like it when someone can remind me of who they were. And And if they were memorable as well, then I will gladly follow up with them. And yeah, you kind of you try and keep an informal back and forth. And then at some point, yeah, you can go in with your ask if you have one, looking for opportunities, or I could use some advice from you, etc. But I think same thing as actually friendships. If you meet someone casually in a social event, it's a very similar thing. See this as a true relationship, something you want to build on and nurture. There really shouldn't be much of a difference between someone you connect with on a social level versus someone you connect with on a professional level. Just that obviously the nature of the conversation will be a little different.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Yes, dear everyone attending us, dear participants, we have one more very interesting also guest speaker who is going to take us through the next session of this networking webinar. That is Maria. Already you've had that name a number of times here already. Maria Chiarella. Maria, sorry if I pronounced that name wrongly. Maria is a manager for the mentorship and youth programs at the Project Learning Tree Canada. Some of you, or a number of you, I believe, are either a mentee or a mentor in the Green Mentor program, and you might have met Maria a number of times through the Green Mentorship program initiatives. Over to you, Maria, to take us through the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amos. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening. I am just sharing my screen, so bear with me a moment here. All right, does everyone see the presentation okay? And I can't see anyone, so maybe thumbs up or maybe put in the chat.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, fantastic. So let's get this started. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today and do this presentation on networking and making meaningful connections at the World Forestry Congress. So just a little bit about myself. As Amos mentioned, my name is Maria Chiarella. I am the manager of mentorship and youth programs at Project Learning Tree Canada. I also hold a double major in political science and environmental studies from the University of Victoria. And my work really is about managing our various mentorship programs, both nationally and globally, including our WFC Green Mentor program that was launched earlier this year. So before we start, I just want to touch on the learning outcomes from today. So these are some of the takeaways. You will understand the importance of networking in the career exploration process, the significance of having a networking strategy to help you land your dream career, dream job, and also the do's and don'ts of networking. So let's do a quick poll here. So the question is, on average, what percentage of jobs do you think are filled through networking? Is it A, 25%, B, 45%, C, 65%, or D, 85%? So if you just want to put in the chat what you think is the answer, and I'll check the chat here. So I see C, which would be 65%, 1D, 1A, perfect. So it looks like most of us are saying 65%. And according to a poll carried out by Review 42, it is actually approximately 85% of positions that are filled by networking. So now that I've impressed you with the importance of networking, let's talk about what it is and how to make sure that you are networking effectively. So why is networking important? Well, a strong professional network can really help us attract future opportunities. It can create a safety net. It gives us an opportunity to learn about careers and employers, establish a network of experience that you can call on. And building a network is one of the most important things you can do to advance your career. If you're just starting out in your career, you probably don't know how to start your network. But step one really is to think about your current contact and network, even if you are a new graduate or if you're already part of some network. Your network can be made up of almost anyone you've ever met, as long as he or she is of good character. And each of your contacts can lead to new ones. So a great first step can be mapping out your existing network and identify gaps or shortfalls, but also look for opportunities to expand your network. And so here are some suggestions. You can look at your current or former coworkers, fellow members of professional associations, friends and family, former professors and instructors, as well as former classmates. And of course, you may have professional contacts that fall outside of this box that you've met in your everyday life or through volunteering. But these categories can be a good place to start. And I'm sure you've heard this quote before. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. So here's some strategies for networking. And we know that setting goals is a simple tool that can help you make the most out of networking opportunities. And goals can be both short and long term. So you may set a goal for yourself for a specific event, such as meet 5 new people at the World Forestry Congress. And you can also have a bigger overarching goal, such as make future contacts for future opportunities. When you are setting goals, try and make them measurable. This makes it easier for you to quantify and make sure you stay on track. This can be difficult for broader overachieving goals, such as expanding my network, so you can break them down into smaller sub-goals. So for example, if your overall goal is to expand your network because you're looking for a new role, you could split this into smaller goals, such as maybe you add 5 new people to your LinkedIn a month, or you conduct 2 mini informational interviews a month. The important thing to remember is that goal setting can be an important tool to help motivate you and to break down networking into smaller tasks. And there are also a lot of templates already out there if you Google networking tracker. And this is an example on the screen is downloaded from Office 365, but you can, of course, also create your own. But the important thing when you are creating this tracker is to keep information like the name of the person that you've met, the company or organization, including the job title, where you met. So this is where you would follow up and you can personalize your message. For example, it was nice to meet you at the World Forestry Congress in Seoul, Korea. Also have a section on notes. So this can include things you want to remember about this contact, such as what you talked about, any mutual interests that you may have, and what you may want to reach out to them about to track your follow-ups and interactions in the future. And lastly, it's always good to have a date of when you reached out and when you met. Now, I know Elaine talked a little bit about networking do's and don'ts, and I want to continue building on that conversation about networking do's and don'ts in person. So some do's, as Elaine also mentioned, make sure to bring along a business card. Don't be afraid to say hello and offer help and advice. Again, it's really about giving, not always taking. Always have questions prepared. We always advise maybe 3 to 4 questions to have in your back pocket. Be prepared to also answer questions. So some of the more common questions is tell me a little bit about yourself. So make sure you have that. Make sure that you're using people's names. Oftentimes people have a little name tag, and if you don't know how to say someone's name correctly, you can always ask. Of course, always smile and dress appropriately depending on the type of event that you're going to. In the don'ts, don't just talk to one person. I know it can be easy. Sometimes it can be really scary, but open up. You'll see that mostly everyone there is in a similar boat and is really just excited to meet other folks and be able to connect. So don't be afraid. Don't overindulge in alcohol. Don't stare at your phone the entire time, and don't monopolize the conversation. So basically that means be a good listener. And here are some additional tips to remember before the event, during the event, and after the event. So before the event, find out if there is a list of employers who will be present. And you can research the employers who will be in attendance. And again, this is where having that list of 3 questions to ask comes really handy. Make sure that you do have your business card as well, and practice your elevator pitch, what we'll be chatting about in a little bit. During the event, collect and place your name tag if provided, somewhere visible, usually in the top left-hand corner or right-hand corner. Introduce yourself with a smile, a strong handshake, and your pitch. And again, I just want to mention that this is applicable in a Western context typically, so it is important to understand the professional context and culture you are in to see what is appropriate, as that may vary country to country. Again, during the event, you will ask your 3 prepared questions. After a few minutes, thank them for their time and then ask if you could have their business card. You will smile, shake hands, and move on. And then after the event, you will send a follow-up email, just thanking them for their time and seeing when you can connect next. So let's talk a little bit about online networking. So with online networking, you have a wider reach than you would at a regular in-person event. People from all over the world can meet up in a professional, like-minded setting. And LinkedIn has become the go-to for career-related networking. So it is important to have a strong profile and just make sure that you are being active on it. I also encourage you to join social media groups and chats that are dedicated to the area of your interest. And groups can be found on LinkedIn, and chats also exist on Twitter. And you can also move beyond LinkedIn. So lots of companies and groups are exploring different ways to network virtually using platforms like Zoom that help people connect. So I also want to share some tips for LinkedIn. So personalized connection requests. You're more likely to get your invitation accepted if they know you. So if you can personalize your message, you should always try and do that first. Emphasize quality over quantity. So while it may seem like having more contacts would be more valuable, if you're not talking and connecting with any, it doesn't really provide a lot of value. So instead, work on nurturing relationships when you're networking. You can also join industry-related groups. There are a lot of groups and professional associations that you can join through LinkedIn to have an idea of what is up and coming. Be active and relevant. So share links, articles, events that you think will be relevant to your networks. And lastly, don't forget your manners. So this one goes without saying, but always make sure that you're respectful and courteous with every person you meet online and are adding through LinkedIn. Also, remember to check your social media so it is presenting the best professional version of you. So now we're going to be talking about elevator pitches. An elevator pitch is a really important tool to help you create your personal brand and communicate to new contacts and potential employers who you are and what you offer. Your elevator pitch should be quick and personal selling statement. It serves as a foundation for cover letters, email intros, meeting employers at career fairs, and other informal social settings. In general, it should be short, 30 seconds to 60 seconds long is how long your elevator pitch should take. And it should tell someone who you are and why they should hire you or what you have to offer. So here's an example. First, we start with who you are, so you introduce yourself. Then what you do, so including the most relevant information like your education and experience. What you want, so focus on what you have to offer. And then the call to action, so streamlining your ask. And I'll read this out loud here. Hello, Mr. Smith. My name is Lynn Monroe. I am a new graduate from the University of Calgary. I received my Bachelor of Natural Sciences in Energy Science and Geoscience. I am interested in career environmental compliance at XYZ because during my co-op, I enjoyed working in a team to provide consultation on regulation compliance, allowing the client's projects to move forward. As Vice President of Communications of the National Sciences Student Society, We produced 10 e-newsletters over the course of the semester and increased student participation events by 30%. I can provide a strong work ethic in a team, and I can identify resource materials useful in a solution of a problem. I hope to be able to speak with you further about my skills I can bring to XYZ. Here is my business card. May I have yours? What is the best way to contact you? Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great afternoon, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. So let's do an activity here. I want to know which elevator pitch you think is more effective. Is it job seeker 1, who says, I am a job seeker and I really need to find a job. Do you have a job for me? People tell me all the time I have great skills and I think I would be really awesome at your company. I actually applied for a job at your company and heard nothing back. Is there anything you can do to help me? Versus job seeker 2. My name is Suzanne Example. I recently graduated from college with a degree in conservation biology. During my co-op placement with Ducks Unlimited, I managed a monthly newsletter which ignited my passion for communicating and educating the public on conservation issues. I am looking for a job that will put my technical skills and conservation knowledge to work. I would love to exchange business cards. So again, in the chat, which elevator pitch do you think is more effective? Awesome. Seeing everyone is saying job seeker 2. Fantastic. Now, can anyone maybe point out what job seeker 2 did over job seeker 1 that makes it more effective? And you can add it in the chat box as well. Anything that stands out to you. So Ava said, communicated specific skills and experience as well as passion. Absolutely. Proper introduction for number 2. As well as requesting. So number 1 is requesting, whereas number 2 is providing. Again, job seeker number 1 never introduced themselves, and it was job seeker is more confident and expressive. Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Let's move on to the next section over here. So following up. One really important step of networking is following up with a new contact after your first meeting / interaction. And following up helps to solidify your relationship and gives you the opportunity to ask further questions or arrange another meeting. So ideally, you should follow up within 24 hours when your interaction is still really fresh in the other person's mind. And when following up, you should include the following information. First, you can mention the event where you met. So this helps personalize your request. You can refer some personal information from your conversation. Again, this will help to jog the memory. You can offer to help. So if there's any way that you can help the contact, do so. Perhaps you offer to connect them with someone, or maybe they ask you to forward an article that you were discussing. Next, ask to meet up or to continue your conversation if appropriate. You can also connect on LinkedIn if you met at a face-to-face event to help strengthen your personal relationship. And edit. So no matter what method you are using to follow up, make sure that you review the message a couple of times to ensure that there are no errors and that you leave them with a strong professional image. With that, I just want to close that off. Thank you everyone for your time and for your participation. And I really hope you all learned some new useful information today.
Thank you very much, Maria, for that wonderful presentation. Pierre, Andrea, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Amos, and thanks very much, Maria. So let's go back to gallery view. Yes, very practical, I think. Very detailed and very useful. I took notes for myself, indeed. So let's open up. Let's see if there is any question. There has been a bit of activity in the chat, especially regarding the dress code and you know, how to dress appropriately. Sorry, especially in regards to the World Forestry Congress. What do we think? What it's appropriate? And Elaine has provided some information around that, and there was also a follow-up chat saying, yeah, important also to wear comfortable shoes because the venue is big. So, and you'll be moving a lot between rooms and between corridors and between different spaces that are there. But I'd like to see if there is any other question. So we've got the opportunity here to ask any follow-up question to Maria. You're getting a lot of loves in the chat, as you can see. So the presentation has been very much appreciated. And I'm muting some people in the meantime. But please, floor is open. So any question for Maria? Any follow-up or anything you want to unpack a little more? No, not at the moment. I don't see. Yeah,
I had a question for Maria.
Please.
You had mentioned categorizing your networks, like finding a gap in terms of where your networks might be lacking. Do you have any advice on how to go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, and I'm happy to share this presentation afterwards as well, but start with those main categories and then start thinking outside the box. So think about your other connections, right? Like volunteering is a really great opportunity to start building connections there. Even different groups outside of like work or school. And even today, you know, if you've been able to tap into new folks and understand what are the different ideas that people are sharing, and this is an amazing opportunity to also network.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aritika, for the question, and thanks, Maria. I see there is a question in the chat from Abdallah, and let me see. You mentioned about professional association as one of the ways to create networks. Some of us will not be attending the conference. Could you suggest to us some of the professional groups that the mentors can join? And before you answer that, let me just say that Abdallah will have Amos coming up next, and he will guide us a bit through the program for the WFC. And there is also opportunity for virtual participation and virtual networking in the platform. So just to give a bit of a heads up on what's coming next, because yeah, we've got more. But Maria, over to you.
Yeah, so I would say if you could really look into international forest associations. I know that in Canada we have provincial ones as well. I'm happy to do a little bit of research. Maybe we can talk offline, and maybe I'll open it up as well if anybody knows any professional associations that they like to share in the chat.
Sure, maybe I can compliment a little bit, Maria. Avril, it's a good question. There aren't actually many international forest associations. Probably one of the biggest ones is the International Society for Tropical Foresters, ISTF, which is free. There's also the Commonwealth Forestry Association, which is not limited to Commonwealth nations, just and as an FYI, but this actually has a membership fee associated with it. Most countries have a National Forestry Association, so I would look up to see if there is one available in your country. Excellent, Tamara. Yeah, the International Society of Arboriculture is one. There's actually there are quite a few, which may or may not, in my experience, don't necessarily cater very well to younger professionals, to be honest. And this is why we're creating 4YP, and I'm adding it. And there is a free Facebook group because this really is to create a space for young professionals, by young professionals in the forest sector, to exchange ideas and to start our networks earlier with our peers, and not have to wait for, I don't know, 10, 15 years when we get to go to these events in person. So.
Or to wait for the next World Forestry Congress.
Yeah, which is in like 5 years' time, exactly. So.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, Lane, and thanks. I see that some other colleagues, Tamberley, have provided some other information or names of societies and associations to look up and to join. More. Let's hear more from you folks. Any more questions? Sorry, Abedizi, I see that you have opened your mic, but the audio is not great. So really difficult to understand. If you can put your question in the chat, if you have a question, I think that would be easier for Maria and for everybody to understand if you indeed had a question for Maria. Yeah, if so, of course, International Forestry Students Association, it's another network and organization that has been just suggested in the chat. All right, I don't see any hands up. I don't see any activity in the chat. So I would like to do two things. First, to give a big round of applause to both Elaine and Maria. And you've got you can do it live as Tamberly is doing, or you can use the virtual clapping, whatever works best for you. Thank you very much. This was really, really great and useful. I took extensive notes myself, I must say. But now, before we go to the last part of the program, we promised that we would put again into breakout to continue to network and talk a bit. So don't go anywhere. You'll now be going into another group of 4 or 5 people, hopefully different than the group you were with in the first round. And let's meet again. It's more for networking and get to know each other. But maybe as a group you can discuss what is the one main takeaway that your takeaway message from, or your main learning point from this presentation. What is your you can say your haha moment, or really the thing that you didn't think before, or just one message from both presentation, for the 2 presentation, that really stood out with you. So for you, all right. So we do again another quick 10 minutes, and then we'll be back, and we've got more. So don't go anywhere. Just join the breakout, and then you'll be brought back in 10 minutes. Off you go. All right, I see some people coming back, and we should have everybody
as we come
back.
Towards the end, we can begin to see more faces now than blank screen or images, and you can feel free to turn on your screen. And
very nice. Yeah, perfect, fantastic. Yeah, it's getting very busy on my screen. Videos on, but please audio off. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very confusing. Please do mute yourselves. Thank you very much, folks. Now, I just said to mute yourself, but is there anybody that would like to unmute and tell us, sharing back from your chat? What was the conversation in your group? Any common takeaways with your colleagues, or did you talk about something else? I mean, wouldn't be nice to hear back maybe from 1 or 2 of you. From the group, the small breakouts. Who would like to go? Do we have any volunteers? Don't be shy. Fodai, David, camera. Yes, please. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Fodi David Kamara. I'm from Sierra Leone, but I'm currently here in Kigali, Rwanda. I'm doing my undergrad studies here as a conservation scholar. So I met in my breakout room. I met with Jesu Rena and Hortez. Jesu Rena is from Guatemala, and Hortez is from France. So we get to explore various interests. I got to find out Hortez. She's currently working on various first projects in France, which is a very good thing as well. Jesu Rena as well is working on similar aspect as well. So for me as a student, it's an opportunity to get to meet them, because I'm still exploring which mission I need to do. For now, I'm looking to doing wildlife conservation, but I'm still exploring. So getting to meet Rena and Hortez, we have shared contacts definitely.
That's very good.
This would be a good thing to really explore and learn from them more.
Perfect. That's a very good example and a good outcome, I guess, from this session. Thanks very much for sharing that today. Anybody else would like to share back just what you enjoyed if you enjoyed anything in the breakout? Who did you meet? What did you like? Any takeaway from what we've heard from Maria and Elaine? Do we have any more volunteer before we move into the next segment?
Yeah, Priya.
Priya. Yes, please.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I had a lovely breakout room with Stephen and Deborah, who are based in Rwanda and Kenya, respectively. And me and Stephen had a really nice conversation about a project that he's working on, actually in Kenya, working on rehabilitating dry lands. And it was interesting because it has a lot of connections with my work on agroforestry here at FAO. And it was actually a project with FAO. And it was interesting for me because I never network virtually, and I'm not going to the World Forestry Congress, but just to make this connection and have a kind of deep conversation about our work in 5 minutes. I mean, this is showing me the power of virtual networking too, which I think I totally underestimate. And usually I dread going into breakout rooms, but it's actually quite lovely. So that was really nice. And Deborah is going to the World Forestry Congress, actually. So we said to enjoy it on our behalf. But yeah, it was a nice surprise.
We got 2 pluses here. So one, we meet the objectives. So because the title of the webinar was Making Connections, so ticked. And then also we get you over the how do we call it? The not liking of breakout rooms. So that's very good. Thank you very much for sharing.
Exactly.
Briefly, shall we go to Sarah next, and then we move on to the final segment for this webinar. Sarah, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much. My breakout room had Pullman from Germany and Frank from Ghana. Brief, when we are all agreed that networking is quite important and crucial. And and we said we enjoyed it. It was fun. It was nice to catch up, followed each other. I think we got our LinkedIn contact. So yeah, we'll keep off on that. So thanks for this. It was great.
Thank you, Sarah. And again, great that you have been making connections. So that's really good. I hope also everybody else managed to build, to meet interesting colleagues. And don't forget to follow up in the next 24 hours. That's one thing that I learned from Maria. So again, thanks very much, Maria. Thanks very much, Elaine. I know that Maria has to drop off, has to leave, but stay with us, everybody else, because we got Amos with the last part of this webinar. Amos, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pierre Andrea. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm taking you through the next 10 minutes. I'm just very briefly highlighting some things that might be very vital for you and for me to get ourselves used to in the lead to the Congress. Just to say that while we were in the breakout rooms and we had some quick conversations here, and yeah, it was good that you could easily remember the name of the person that you were with in the breakout room. It's a clear sign that you were actually listening to them and not more about talking about yourself, because a number of times I've been cut off. I must confess that back then, I've worked on it now, that you just met someone and you talked and you introduce yourself. The next time you meet them again and you're like, oh, what was this person's name? It can come across as very embarrassing sometimes, but I'm glad that you actually remember the names.
I have to send it to him. I have to send it to plate.
Yeah, Pierre, if you can just keep them muted, if there is anyone. But yeah, I'm just going to share with you share my screen with you now, so you can have a look at how we go through the Congress program, just briefly, because a lot of this is also captured in the Young Professionals Pre-Congress event. But just to get yourself going with this, share screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, that's good, Amos.
Great, yeah, somehow I usually, let me just move this. Getting started. Yeah, so it's not news anymore that the Congress will, there'll be some virtual aspects of the Congress. And for this, there is very much free virtual attendance. You can go to the Congress website and register for this virtual attendance. Just to say that it is very important that you sort of acclimatize yourself with the Congress program website. So I am talking from a position of perhaps regret and knowledge for events that I've been to and that I was not deeply informed about the program, but also then to just think about those that I had been to and I was so much acquainted to the program and know what is happening where. I think the very first step, I would say this, but you might have other insights into it, but the very first step in my view to having a very wonderful Congress experience is to first of all know what the Congress is about. All of us, I assume now know what this Congress is about and what happens at the Congress, at what time, where, and when, and who is attending the Congress. So a lot of these are captured in the Congress program platform. If perhaps a lot of you have gotten a number of questions about negotiating and navigating the Congress program website before. Some people tell me they go to the WFC website and they don't see a lot of information. But now you can go to the website and if you click on the programs, it should actually take you to the programs page. It should open another tab. It should pop up and it takes you to this page. It depends on if you've registered or if you have not. If you've registered to attend in person, of course, good to see you in Korea. But if you have not, you can still also participate virtually through this free registration link here.
Sorry, Amos, sorry to interrupt. If you can speak up a bit, because some of our colleagues are not hearing you well. So if you can just speak up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Go ahead.
Great, sure. So I'm just saying that it will take you to the Congress program, so program website. So there are two functions on this program website. The key core functions that I hold as core, of course, others will come along the way. One is the Congress program itself, and then one is a networking function. So we've been going through these networking tips and so on, and there is virtual networking, digital networking. How can we, how can we start to make use of that? If you go to you are now in the program website of the World Forestry Congress. I also see that some people earlier on highlighted language issues as a challenge for them. You can immediately up on the top bar, select what language suits you most. You can either go for French, Spanish, we have Korean, or English, right? These are the official languages of the World Forestry Congress. At the very home page, you will see all the 6 sub-themes displayed, and you can each follow the details on the sub-themes to see what event is happening under what sub-theme. So through this, you can start to earmark what do you want to attend, what are you interested in, so that you don't end up at the Congress running back and forth, not knowing when to be and what to be, when to be where. You will also see the speakers. You can load it up. It will load you a very huge list of speakers, and then you will see an interactive program that you can use to further aid your navigation of the Congress. But then you can move to side. You can choose side events, right? If you click side events, you just start to bookmark what you want. You can up here. You can follow what event happen on what days, so that every day of the Congress you actually leave your room, your hotel room, or you leave your bedroom if you're attending virtually, to know exactly what you're going to attend. And for instance, if you are here, because I am logged in, because I signed up, you can click on that and it bookmarks that event. So it is in your calendar. And we have a side tab here that you can also use to follow up, just to filter. In this sidebar, you can filter out which events are happening where and when, and the language function as well. So if you want events that are in English, if you're not well conversant with English and you prefer French, then you can filter only those that are also in French, and it shows you what is there in French. Yeah, since time is not our friend, this is pretty much about the side events, but you can, we have a lot of filters. You can also go to the speakers function, right? So some of these speakers you know, some you don't. You already know that some of you might know the UNEP executive director and so on, and many of the speakers. So you can begin to search the speakers. And once you search a speaker, it actually shows the speaker's profile and which event they will be at throughout, they'll be presenting at or speaking at throughout the entirety of the Congress. So these are just tools, simple tools that help you to navigate the Congress and to know when to be where. And I just encourage you to really make yourself conversant with this so that at the end of the Congress, you can actually follow up and see where was I, what did I learn from that particular thing, or whom did I meet there. I'm just rushing through it, but I am hopeful that you will find some time and begin to navigate this program website and make yourself well conversant with it. And then when you sign up for this website, when you sign up on it, it will prompt you to accept networking or not. So when it prompts you, if you are interested in networking, I will recommend that you actually accept the networking aspect. So this is my profile, right? It shows it up there. In my profile, I can see my information. I can see what events I've actually signed up for. And I know that so far so good. I will have my bio there, my photo there. And I know for sure that I have bookmarked these two events, the YP events, that I can look at, and I have them there already. And I'm even going to bookmark more. So you can create a profile, and other people who also sign up can create their own profiles. So you can begin to start searching through, right? Who is attending the Congress? You can search through their profiles. And if there is anyone you know, you can check up their profile on this networking page and try to establish contact with them through this page. And perhaps with time, even move to other forms of networking. It is already happening now. I mean, I already have a number of messages from some other people, but it is already happening now. You can choose to start establishing your conversation with the people that you want to meet now. And when you go to the Congress, you're actually going to meet someone you have been conversing with virtually, and that might make networking even far much easier than you would imagine, rather than just showing up. If you want to take the challenge, I totally encourage you to just show up and introduce yourself. But I think this is also another sort of code that you can use. I don't want to call it a cheat code, that you can use already to begin to engage people and reach out. That's that. Just maybe quickly, as Elaine mentioned already, I will not now go through this into detail, but if you go to the Congress program website, there will be you can see two events, one on 5th of May, organized by the the 4YP, the young professionals. And this event will also mark the launch of the new global network for young forestry professionals. So you were talking about associations of professional foresters. This is particularly for young professionals, and it would be good to see you as a part of this this organization. And then there is a pre-Congress event, branching out and growing networks, young professionals networking. Totally encourage you to participate in this. So I'm just giving a snapshot because time is not our friend in terms of the Congress program, but during this pre-Congress event also, you will network with, of course, senior and peer professionals, but then you will also navigate the Congress program, and there'll be support for young professional events. So I encourage you to visit this website. I'll put the link shortly in the chat box. And yes, if there are any questions, I will also put my email address in the question and in the chat box, and you can yeah, thanks a lot, Pierre, for putting it there. If there are any questions, you can check the frequently asked questions, but I'll also put, if there are any specific questions, I'll put my email address there and you can write to me. Yeah, I will for now stop there, and thank you very much for staying with me to this far. Never mind the many open tabs on my screen. I've been told several times about digital minimalism. I've failed to have few tabs on my browser. Thank you. Pierre-Andre, are you there? Over to you.
Thanks, Amos. Yes, I am. Thanks very much. And yes, I again encourage everybody to look at the program and to register for virtual attendance if you're not able to travel to Korea and to attend in person. We really hope that also the virtual participation can be beneficial for everybody, and indeed that you can have through the program and through the website opportunities to network, even if virtually. We're behind time. Amos, shall we do the picture? Shall we do the chat wave? What do? We do a quick chat wave before we go?
A picture, I guess.
Let's do picture, and then we do chat wave as a ticket out. So cameras up, everybody. Put makeup. Just make sure that you look good. That is a tradition. So this is the 5th webinar. I'm not sure we'll do one after the Congress. I don't remember if we have anything planned for webinars after the Congress, but hopefully we can see if we can find space to do a post Congress gathering. But otherwise, in the meantime, let's put a big smile. And Amos, you ready?
Yeah, I'm taking 3, please. So keep your cameras on with that big smile.
All right. So yeah, everybody smiles, and keep going. Thank you, Amos. One more. Yeah. 2
more, please. Smiling makes people younger. So it's good to smile.
Everybody smile. All right. Good. All right. I think we'll probably close it here at this point. Because we are 4 minutes behind over time, and it's not good to run too long over. I guess probably some people have already other meetings to attend, or like in my case, a late dinner to catch at 10 p.m. in the evening. So with this, I thank everybody who has joined. This was really great. We had the peak more than 97 participants, I guess. So it was really fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And as we log off, let me put some sound. Yes.
Yeah, I expected that. Pierre is always getting us some nice music.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And look forward to see you in Korea or online. Or in other virtual spaces. Thank you very, very much. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.